Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter from CarterMatt.com.
This video is The Expanse, Season 1, Episode 6. First viewing reaction. This episode is entitled Rock Bottom, which I think could be the title for almost every episode for the past few when it comes to Holden and Amos and everything else that's going on. I mean, in a lot of ways, they had maybe slightly better news in this episode than the past few.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like some stuff is coming together a little bit, I guess, for them. They came together as a team.
Amos didn't get shot in the leg, so there's that.
Yeah.
Nobody seems like they're in immediate danger of dying entering episode 7.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
Maybe this is a reference to Miller, because I'm pretty sure Miller was on rock bottom for a lot of this episode.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, so, but let's set things up. Before you dive in here, if you like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We have a lot more discussions on The Expanse coming, leading into the Season 4 premiere.
So I wanted to start out with Christian, because we didn't have her really much going on at all in the last episode, and we had a little bit of her in this episode, where they revealed that her son was killed by OPA. Now, I just wanted to put a little disclaimer out there. Matt and I have not seen this show. We don't know any spoilers about this show. And we've really enjoyed being part of the comments with everybody and chatting about the show. Unfortunately, somebody in the comments spoiled this particular piece of information about her son. So we just wanted to ask everybody to keep the comments as spoiler free as possible so that we're able to just enjoy those moments where it's a little bit, because that would have been a real kind of oh my gosh moment for me, who's completely invested in Christian and her story and everything about her. It's really, really interesting character. So yeah, we learned that a couple days ago from somebody telling us, but we got to actually see it today.
Yeah, and I think it's a fun reveal. And I mean, for everyone out there, just remember this. It's possible that you'll get to watch us be really, really wrong with our predictions and clown us for it after the fact.
Absolutely.
As everyone who has watched my Survivor videos knows, that has happened a lot this season. So there's always humor in my predictions being wrong.
Absolutely. So you guys, if it's not spoiled for us, you get to watch us go down some interesting, weird, strange, wrong paths. And then you can come and chat with us about it after.
All right, so let's get into Christian.
Yeah.
And what's going on with her. I find that Christian is sort of... I mean, we've talked a lot about moral gray areas with characters already and doing bad things for what is perceived to be a right reason. And I mean, I think Christian falls very, very much into that. And I think the more and more that we see of her, the more we're starting to realize that, okay, she has a reason for what she wants to do at all times, even if it is things involving spying and espionage and stuff that's not exactly going to get a big rubber stamp of approval, but it might actually be necessary to figuring out what's really at the bottom of everything. And I think that's what Christian is trying to do. She's just trying to do it from afar.
Yeah, she is. And that's something that I've really appreciated about her character, that sometimes she's going to go about the long, subtle way where she screwed over her friend a few episodes ago and took him on this journey to be able to get this information and then was like, here's some wine. In this episode, she just got straight to the point and basically was like, here's my threat. I'm going to go and deal with some ice cream. So you think about this and get it going for me, and I'm going to go get a scoop.
Yeah, and I want ice cream now, thank you. But yeah, I
like how she seems to pay for everything in food and wine.
Yeah, she's really great with like, hey, you go do this while I arrange something that's super serious and may involve people getting killed. It's all going to be okay, but I think that speaks mostly to Christian's experience as someone who is used to brokering deals within this world and using underhanded tactics in order to get ahead, because she probably doesn't see them as underhanded tactics. I think she constantly lives within almost like a wartime mentality where we're at war. I got to do whatever I got to do in order to protect myself and protect others that are close to me.
And it was revealed that she grew up in kind of this environment, and that her father was exactly like this, and that her from a young age was also brought up like this. So this is something that it seems that she doesn't feel like, this isn't bad. This is just the way that it is, and this is the way you get things done.
Yeah, and I think everyone right now on the Expanse in one way or another, and I mean, there are a lot of things that are going on, but I feel like a lot of the final end games of all of it at the moment kind of all converge around this idea of figuring out who is actually responsible for everything that has happened across a number of different events at this point, whether you're talking about Phoebe Station, whether you're talking about the Donager, whether you're talking about the Canterbury. All of this is sort of linked, and the question then becomes, how is all of it linked? And I know we usually start with Holden and the adventures of that ragtag crew.
Yep.
How about we mix it up a little bit?
Let's do it.
And let's go into Miller and what is going on here with Miller, because really, just a chain of terrible events for Miller. And yeah, I mean, let's think. He almost
rock bottom.
This
Things
is
are
rock
so
bottom for
bad
Miller.
for Miller.
Like, let us recount the ways that things go horrible for Miller within this episode. He gets tasered repeatedly. He gets interrogated by Anderson Dawes, who
nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that, and it's pretty darn obvious at this point that Anderson Dawes is very much involved in everything that is going on in some shape or form as to whether or not he is, has more information on Phoebe Station and the bioweapon plots and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, there are elements of that are to be revealed, but he's very much involved in everything. You see the poor Miller get thrown into what I'm going to call the death chamber, because that's really what it is.
Pretty much.
And he gets saved. Octavia saves the day.
Yep.
I'm pretty happy I know her name now for sure, and I don't have to just say, it's the actress from Manifest. But, she shows up, she helps him, has some kills. It seems like there's going to be some sort of romantic moment between the two of them.
Yeah.
I feel like this is Miller doing his whole sort of brooding, I'm not capable of love moment, where he just sort of like pulls away and then walks in the other direction.
It's just they've been working together. There's a bunch of bad stuff that just happened to him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about timing, and that was not really the best timing. She's vulnerable and just went through this stuff, and then he's gonna jump in on that? Maybe that's against his own moral code, that this is not the time.
Yeah, I'm joking a little bit with the brooding anti-hero stuff. I mean, I do think to some extent Miller is basically showing that he doesn't want to take advantage of her in a time when she is really vulnerable. So maybe this is just an example that Miller, despite all of his weird eccentricities, may actually be a pretty good guy in some ways.
Yeah, he feels just like he's very situational to me, that he is a guy that is going to take each situation as it comes and what's going to be the best outcome for himself. And I'm not saying he's completely selfish, because there are things that he is doing for other people, but he still has to live in this environment. So while he's got Octavia here who's kind of looking at him like maybe it's time to make a move, is that going to really be the best move for Miller going forward? No, she's in a really vulnerable spot. She just killed somebody for the first time. He just shared his story of what happened to him the first time he went through this. He's sitting on a pile of information right now. What's going to be on the other side of him hooking up with Octavia? Nothing really good at right now in this particular situation. If it's a different situation down the road, may he decide to dip into that pool and go a different way? Yeah, maybe it's a different situation at that time. And that's just what it feels like with Miller, which is one of the things I really like about him. There's not a lot of characters just across the board in TV that are like this, that take each situation as it comes to figure out, how is this going to affect me going forward, and how will it also affect everyone else, and then take a bit from each column and put it together to make a decision.
And I think Miller's final decision when it comes to this case is, I'm going to pursue this no matter what and get all the information that I possibly can, because I feel like after you nearly die and, get saved by Octavia, you're going to be even more motivated to try to get answers at the end of all of this.
Well, for sure. And this whole Julie mystery feels like, again, something that is going to end up affecting a lot of people, including Miller and where he lives and everyone that's there. So this is something that isn't. That's why when they brought up the whole, oh, he's in love with her, I just felt like Miller was kind of like, yeah, we'll go with that. That works out. That works out for this situation. Whatever works to get me out of this. It just doesn't feel like that's exactly where it is.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't
There's
know.
something bigger to this whole Julie situation that is happening within Miller.
Yeah, and Miller doesn't know Julie Mao, really. He's just, he's investigated this. I think he is in love with the idea of getting answers, and I think he is in love with the idea of actually feeling like he's been validated for everything that he's put himself through with this case already. Maybe at first it was sort of this routine, okay, missing rich young woman story that, there have been countless in the world of law enforcement over the years and probably in the future as well. But when you start to put the amount of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that Miller has put into it, I think that just makes you just so determined and locked in that at times maybe you develop a little bit of tunnel vision, which includes not being able to see that your own employer may not really want you doing this anymore because maybe, just maybe, they have been connected to either Anderson Dawes or other people who are associated with what really has gone down with Julie Mao, with Phoebe Station, with these bioweapons that are out there that are obviously extremely dangerous. He got the heave-ho.
Yeah, he did, and it's been an interesting journey watching Miller go through all this to get enough information to finally bring it to his boss to be like, here we are. I got it. Let's move on it. For her to just yoink, put it away. This is, if it is Anderson, and I'm assuming that it is, that is Miller's assumption. That is my assumption. She did not confirm it. She did not deny it. But it feels like this is where it's going. That everything that Anderson went through earlier to try to find information, figure out what it was he went back to Julie's apartment for. He couldn't find anything on him. This is a way to do it. Oh, now he's gone back. He's given it to his boss. His boss has taken it. We don't know what she's going to do with it yet, but she could easily hand it over.
I think what's pretty clear now is whoever is behind all of these attacks, there's information within all of this that they are so desperate doesn't get out, so that they continue to be stealthy, stealth pun intended here, and just be able to ensure that they can keep everything buried as long as possible, that they're willing to take out anyone who even remotely stands in their way, who could feasibly have any information. And I think that's at least one of the motivating factors to why we've seen everything that we've seen. The question now, who is going to kill Miller next, or at least attempt to, because...
Well, I'm also curious about, is it just Miller's boss that's being part of this whole get the information about Julie and put it away and get rid of Miller? Or is it the entirety of Star Helix? Is it everybody is behind this and knows about this and is involved in this?
And I think another interesting question here is... what is the paper trail on this? Is this something that came about a little bit more recently, where somebody just showed up with a briefcase full of money?
Well, yeah, because originally she was happy to take on this case and put Miller on the case and be like, take care of it. And then it was kind of like, oh, this doesn't matter anymore. Now it's done. So has it been since then that she put the kibosh on it because somebody came with a giant briefcase of money or a threat or whatever it may be, and said, crush this case?
And I think something else as we're starting to also progress into the Holdens and Fred Johnsons of the world in this episode is we have sort of interesting differing ideologies sort of within the OPA universe, because Anderson Dawes seems more willing to sort of just dominate with an iron fist. And do whatever he needs to do in order to ensure that he can progress forward. And I think that's why it's so easy to suspect that whatever is going on here, that he is at the center of all of it. But then you have Fred,
Yeah.
who seems to be more about, I want to legitimize the OPA and figure out ways in which to do this. I mean, he does...
get a seat at the table, but have us actually be part of the whole universe and organization, everybody working together and actually be our own thing.
Yeah, and that brings us to Lionel, or Lionel, or whatever their name may actually really be, because I think what Anderson Dawes would do with someone like Lionel may be very different than what Fred would want to do, because it appears as though this Lionel person, they have knowledge that is really, really important. We know knowledge is power.
It is.
And we are going to see now Holden and company on a mission to try to retrieve them. But I think let's get into some motivation here.
Yes.
Why would they do this? Why would Holden, Naomi, Amos, and why would this group decide, okay, you know what, this is a good idea for us to do?
It's a fair question. And with everything that Holden did by putting out that video, and now they're kind of wanted everywhere, it feels like they're just kind of everywhere they go, they're now those people that have done this thing and have said this thing, I think, and they know it's not true now.
Yeah.
So instead of having to just make somebody a scapegoat, oh, we're gonna blame it on Naomi and put her out to dry, sort of thing, that by finding this person, maybe they can actually get proper information and then release proper information so everybody actually knows what's going on and take back what they said. They can't, I think they feel like they're stuck in a position where they can't just put out another video and basically like, oh, we were wrong about that, but we don't actually know what's going on, because that doesn't really get anybody anywhere. And that just creates more chaos and fear and people that won't believe him, because now it's like, oh, well, you're just basically coming back and being like, I'm retracting what I said.
Yeah.
For no reason. There isn't any other information. Why are you taking it back?
And I think they also want to kind of do this together because they've all been in this together. Because at first it was just sort of like, okay, Holden, you're going to go with the rest of Fred's people. Everyone else is going to stay behind because we need their testimony. They record the testimony. All of that is seemingly settled. And now they're all going on this mission together. I mean, they do know what they're up against, I guess probably more so than anyone else would.
Well, I loved that Holden did come clean about what happened. Naomi came clean that she knew. This was the first time that it really felt like they are coming together in another way. Seeing moments like Holden giving everybody a coffee and being generous with the coffee.
I would hoard that coffee.
I would hoard that coffee till the end of time.
Yeah, no.
But I think coming clean with that, it gave everybody a reason to finally build some trust and come to make a decision with all the knowledge on the table and decide to come together. And it starting to feel like they're coming together.
Yeah, and I think it was also important to see Amos a little bit in his feelings after all of this, because he trusts Naomi so implicitly, and for her to withhold something from him and not understand why. And I think that little line he said, you were afraid. Like, you were afraid of me. You were afraid of whatever I was going to do.
Yep.
I think that was a little bit of self-assessment from Amos, who... We've learned a little bit about Amos in this episode that I think explains why he's probably so reactive, that he grew up within this sort of world of hustlers, where there's prostitution, where there's all this different stuff going on. I think he's probably so used to having to look over his shoulder that also probably when somebody points a gun at him, he just shoots and asks questions later.
Yeah, and all of that makes a lot more sense and rounds him out a lot more.
Yeah, I think if you can really... I think the challenge for a show like this, because you have like so many different storylines going on at once, is how can you present all of these different storylines and give backstory without screeching everything else to a halt.
Yeah, for sure.
This is not Lost. We're not going to unfortunately get like the hour-long Amos backstory episode with flashbacks.
I would watch that.
I would watch that too, don't get me wrong, but Lost had like 22 episodes in the season.
That's true, yes. I don't suspect that we're going to get that, especially with so many different moving parts on the show and all these different parts in the universe that are going on. There's so many stories. We even had like an episode with no Christian at all, which I understood. But, you know, it makes sense that there's just so much that's happening that the show does have to focus in on where we're going to go to move this story. So, yeah, are we going to get a all Amos episode? No, probably not. But I would watch that all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this episode had so much going on, and we haven't even talked about, you know, the poor water snatcher from earlier this season just getting stuck out in space.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where we're going with any of that, but...
No, but it felt like it was bringing us to the point that we can see that people are over it. They're over the Earth being water and air rich, and they're over everything that's going on Mars, and the people that are stuck sort of hustling or, you know, being more working class and just the best that they can to try to get by, collecting rocks to get by. People are over it. Like, over it.
Yeah, I think it's mostly right now, I think it's function of desperation, of seeing how desperate certain people are and sort of how they're being lorded over, but that might build.
And that's why the plot that I'm starting to become a little more interested in is what's going on with the OPA, where we've got someone like Fred who wants a seat at the table, wants to legitimize it and everyone, where they are all a group of people that are all not so disenfranchised anymore. And then we have someone like Anderson who's wants to rule everybody there.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what it feels like right now. And you've got two big players in the same pool of people that are all looking towards something.
You know what I can't forget about, though? The fact that Fred had the nickname The Butcher. I still worry about all of that. He may claim that he has changed, but how much have you changed, Fred?
Yeah.
I'm still concerned. I just got to throw that out there into the universe.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to touch on from this episode before we wrap things up?
No, that's really what I was wanting to talk about in this episode.
Alrighty, well, with that in mind, I want to know from you guys, what did you think about the Expanse Season 1, Episode 6 when you watched for the first time? Be sure to share in the comments and also give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further and get a shirt like the one I'm wearing by checking the link in the description below. Thank you guys, and we'll see you here next time.